What is up, fellow CineNerds?
I am JP.
And I am Wolverine. I don't know, I had to do something fun today. Because why not? We're covering some Marvel movies.
Double feature.
We're trying something new. We like this double feature. We cover a lot more ground, we feel. So today, we're going to do Logan and the new Deadpool Wolverine. So yeah, good stuff. With that said, if you are tuning in and listening and you have not seen Deadpool and Wolverine yet, be prepared because this is not a spoiler-free one. This is going to have lots of spoilers. So tune out now and come back later.
Or you can watch the first half and then come back later for the second half.
That works too. Well, we're kind of going to bounce around here. So we'll see. Well, this double features new territory, so we'll probably go a little all over the place. But there's definitely two different vibes in these movies for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, Logan is a very grounded, serious film.
Heart-wrenching, in fact.
And then Deadpool Wolverine is very out of this world and comedic.
And honestly, one of the best possible ways, though. So, as only you could imagine the first MCU rated R movie could be.
And I have some mixed feelings on it.
Really?
Really.
I'm good with it.
Yeah, so I have mixed feelings on it.
Well, let's get into it.
We'll get there.
Do we want to do a synopsis of each and then break out those movies? What do we want to do with this one?
I feel like we should do... forgive us, guys, this is new territory. I feel like we should do the plot summary for Logan to give our rating. Then we'll do a plot summary for Deadpool, Wolverine.
Let's get into it.
And do a rating. And we're going to move pretty quick. We're going to move pretty quick through these movies. We're not going to go step by step.
Yeah, we talked about it, and we thought that maybe we were dragging this out a little bit much. We had a couple episodes went over an hour, so we're going to try and get more right into the meat and potatoes, so to speak.
Because we like to ramble, as you guys know.
Oh, my goodness. And especially on the things we love, like Marvel, sci-fi, zombie, you name it, horror in general. So we can do that. We can get off on our tangents.
Okay, so Logan, the year is 2029. An alien Professor X, played by Patrick Stewart, and a weary Logan, played by, of course, Hugh Jackman. They live in hiding, caring for each other in a world where mutants are nearly extinct. When a young girl, Laura, with the ability similar to Logan arrives, they must flee from the sinister I can't ever say that, Segan, or the project that she was a part of.
Oh, right on.
And its ruthless agents, led by Pierce, played by Boyd Holbrook. As they embark on the perilous journey to safety, Logan confronts his dark past and his own mortality while protecting Laura and Charles from those who seek to harm them. The film is gritty, an emotional exploration of the Wolverine's character's final days.
So, originally, and the reason we chose these two movies together was because they do piggyback from one to the other. The opening sequence of Wolverine Deadpool pays tribute kind of to the Logan ending. And also...
Does it pay tribute or does it kind of shit on it?
I think it pays tribute, and I think it's awesome. I'm completely down with that. And plus, there's the end credit from Deadpool 2, where he's at his grave. So there's some things that I liked and I cared for with this instance.
Oh, I'm not saying I don't like it, but to be fair, and I personally feel like it kind of shits on the seriousness of the Logan film. But do I enjoy what they do with it in Deadpool Wolverine? But we'll get there.
But hold on, I'll just say this and then we'll get there. I do feel that that's par for the course, though, because Deadpool and Wolverine, that's all the entire movie is a serious Wolverine and a normal Deadpool.
Well, yeah, it's expected.
Yeah,
I'm not saying I hate it. I'm just saying
right.
It's expected, but it kind of shits on the serious tone of Logan.
If that's your feeling. Anyway, so Logan. Logan, to me, I'm just going to kind of give a little backstory here. I thoroughly, if you haven't been paying attention when I go off on little tangents about Wolverine and Logan, he's my favorite X-Men, Mutant, comic book character of all time. I have always loved Wolverine. He was the first comic I stole. Yes, I said stole. And I read along pretty well until we did get into the X-23 window. That was kind of where I fell off just before all that. So I learned a little bit about X-23 more so from this movie when it came out, if I'm being honest. And then I went back into the comics a little bit. But this movie gave me everything I kind of really wanted out of Wolverine and a farewell, if you will, because I've grown up with Wolverine. To see him get to an older age, to see him ailing, to see him as old man Logan, if you will, I thought it was pretty brilliant. I enjoyed it.
Well, and kind of initial reactions and thoughts on the character. Anybody who knows me knows I'm a comic book wise. I'm not even going to talk about film because we know how the films have turned out. Comic book wise, I'm a huge DC fan. I'm a massive DC fan. I was never a Marvel fan except my entire childhood of the 90s. I was obsessed with X-Men. And through the 90s and into the early 2000s, and well, even to today, I just don't buy comic books anymore. But growing up, that's how my mom got me to read. I would never read books. So my mom would take me every weekend, and in the 80s, I would always go buy Green Lantern, Batman, Superman books. When it got to the 90s, I was buying nothing every weekend but X-Men and Spawn books.
That was the best era for both those, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, it really was. And so I became a massive Wolverine fan and a massive Gambit fan. And so I'm always excited. Anything mutant, whether it's X-Men, Deadpool, Wolverine, New Mutants, any of the live action stuff that has came out that's been X-Men, I have been here for it. That being said, when Logan was when I first saw the trailers, I was like, finally we're going to get what I've been wanting to see. We got taste of it in the Wolverine, I think, but that was my initial thoughts when I saw the trailer. And then when I originally watched this, I went to the movie theaters. I thought it was just absolutely fantastic leaving the theater.
Me as well.
So,
the aspect of what's happened here, not Pierce, who's the doctor in it, who creates the serum and does the cloning. Do you remember his name?
I have the IMDb up right here
well,
someplace. So.
Between this guy and Professor X, essentially, there was an incident that happened, and Professor X killed a lot of people, including X-Men, with a psychic attack, if you will, an unintentional one, because as he stated in his synopsis, he's ailing. So the way that it unfolds and the way that everything comes to fruition, essentially we're in a spot where Logan is Logan. He's being an alcoholic, and he's just, I love the grittiness of it because he still pops out when he needs to, but his healing factor's not working anymore. He's not healing. He's not getting better. The adamantium in him is essentially poisoning him.
Yeah, it's poisoning. That doctor's name is Dr. Rice, and I don't know. I should have remembered that because it's played by Richard Grant. So,
and Wolverine killed his dad, Sue. So it was kind of like foreshadowing. So it's kind of nice little bit there too. But yeah, man, this was just start to finish, and I have to give Daphne a lot of kudos in this movie. She nailed X-23 by mimicking Wolverine to a T almost with her two little claws and her foot claw. I thought it was spectacular. She was just so good for this young talent.
I always wish she had more speaking lines, but it does work. It makes her more animalistic to a certain degree.
It does. And I found it fascinating because there's a part where Professor X is talking to her and Logan in the car and says that the reason that she has the foot blade is because of her female component. It's a female defensive technique or mechanism. And I thought that was kind of nifty. But to me, and I'm going to talk a little bit about Wolverine and Deadpool here, so Daphne reprises her role as X-23 in that. And in Wolverine and Deadpool, you see an older, jaded more wise X-23 Laura. And I want to know. I don't care. Everyone's saying give Blade a movie. Everyone's saying give Gambit a movie. Everyone's saying all these characters.
Give her a movie.
I want an X-23 of what happened with her growing up, with her other friend kids that are in the end of Logan. Essentially, there are a group of kids, and he makes sure they have safe passage to get where they need to because there's no more mutant kids. And I want to know where it goes from there and what brings her all the way into. What is it, the Void, or what do they call it in Wolverine Deadpool?
I think it's the Void. It's like a purgatory kind of place. Yeah, I know. I agree, and I would rather see an X-23 film with her, especially. And I'm gonna say something about Deadpool Wolverine right now, since you've already talked about. You want to see a movie with X-23 more so than Gambit and Blade. I think I said in a previous episode talking about Blade, if Disney wants to make a rated R film and make money, bring Wesley Snipes back and do a rated R Blade, and you're going to make money. I still think that, I believe that, and I'd like to see that as a one-off for sure. If Wesley Snipes stays very hands-off the script, and if Disney will actually do a rated R horror, more horror-oriented Blade film. Now, my big thing, Gambit. I said a minute ago, Gambit's one of my favorite X-Men characters, comic characters, period. Channing Tatum, I don't want to see a Channing Tatum Gambit film. I don't either. The only thing that I see that Channing Tatum brought to that role was a comic-accurate outfit, and he's such a good dancer that he could do the move style, fighting style of Gambit very well. But as for him looking the part, sounding the part, playing the part of Gambit, he fucking sucked.
What are your thoughts on the other actor who played Gambit? I forgot his name.
The guy that played John Carter.
Yes.
And I know his name, and for the life of me, I cannot think of his name now. He suffered from a horrible film, and he suffered from horrible dialogue in a role that they just threw Gambit in there because people wanted to see Gambit, and his role didn't even really make a lot of fucking sense in that film. However, I actually thought that he could be a decent Gambit. Now, today, do I think he could be a good Gambit? I think he's too old. I think he's aged out of it. Yeah. I think you need to find a younger actor to play Gambit. I think Channing Tatum's too old.
I think, if I'm being frank, I think they're both too. They're not. I'm not going to say they're fat by any means, but they're definitely too sturdy. And whereas Gambit's always been a lean, thin character.
Yeah.
So some of on Screen Rant, I recently came across a list, and some of the actors that stuck out to me to be potentials would be Joel Kinnaman.
I haven't seen this.
So So I'll show you. So Joel Kinnaman, he played the RoboCop Nightmare, the remake.
Gotcha. But he played Randall Flagg.
Yeah, and he's a great. I think he could do it well. But there's an even better one. Where is he? Ian Somerhalder was one of the ones that got thrown in there.
I think he's too old. Now, years ago when he was doing Lost, I could agree 100%, but I think he's too old.
Somebody suggested Brenton Thwaites, who played Nightwing in Titans.
Physically, I think he'd be okay, but I don't think that he could do the role justice.
I got really geeked out when I saw this one. Travis Fimmel from Vikings. Too old now, too, but... Holy shit! But he'd have the same problem as Channing Tatum might with the kind of the puffy face.
I think he kind of has that whole Charlie Hunnam look too.
The guy from Stranger Things, I can never say his name, Dacre Montgomery.
You know,
he might not be bad.
Out of everybody you've named so far, he's actually not bad.
I thought the same thing. And then there's a couple others here. Hold on. I don't know much about Matt Bomer. I don't know who he is, but that's number 2. Now, number 1. I'm
not familiar with him.
Number 1 is this dude, Austin Butler. He kind of looks like a Chachi version of Jax from Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, you know what? I could actually see him doing that role pretty well, too.
I could, too. Are you familiar with him?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, he did, what was the Chronicles of Shannara or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Or some MTV TV show. But when I saw that list, I got kind of geeked, I'm not going to lie. I was like, those are much better than Channing or...
And definitely the guy from Lost. he would have been great 15 years ago.
The guy from Lost?
You had him on that list. I can't remember his name, but he's the one with the real blue eyes.
Oh, he was from Vampire Diaries.
Yeah, he was in Lost. He was in Lost.
Yeah.
He was in Lost too.
Was he?
And,
the sister and brother. I forgot about that. That's right.
He would have been, I think, 15 years ago, he would have probably been perfect casting for it, but this is 15 years later.
Yeah.
And longevity-wise, I don't, he's too old. I mean, could he do the part now and look the part? Sure. But his longevity-wise, he's too old.
Yeah, I think if we're looking at a new timeline with X-Men and Gambit, I think you need somebody who's like 25 to 30 in that ballpark.
Yeah,
very slender, but have that charm, that appeal.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
and those guys are my age. You know, they'll probably be good for the next 5 to 10 years, but after that, you know.
Logan kept the punches coming. I was really happy with Logan because I was not expecting when I first saw it for what's his face to come back into it with the C. Losing it. What's the guy's name? He's the guy who's the tracker. Caliban, thank you.
And he is also in another X-Men film.
He is. He's in the worst one.
Is it the worst one?
To me, it is.
Maybe the worst one of the
first four
of the newer X-Men series.
Yes.
But I won't say it's worse than any of the original trilogy.
I think it's worse than the original trilogy.
Is it worse than Last Stand?
It had moments that
we'll get there.
Yeah,
we'll get there.
That's a whole nother episode.
Yeah.
We're covering those four that we're talking about, the more recent X-Men coming up here. But Logan, man, seeing Caliban come into play, Caliban sacrifices himself at one point. Seeing the cloning come into fruition, where you get 24. Which, God, that fucking sucked for the family. So Logan and Laura, they're traveling. They need somewhere to go, basically, and this family opens up their home to basically say, hey, come on, we'll take care of you, because Logan and Laura helped him.
And this is one of the best scenes in the whole film, I think. I mean, just that whole chapter of the family taking them in and befriending, dealing with the local rednecks, and then all of a sudden you got X-24 showing up with these company men, and yeah, that's one of the best scenes in the whole film.
So when I rewatched this, because I hadn't watched it in a minute, and I got to watch it, I have the copy here, but I got to watch it in noir, so it was very, very different, more crisp. It was just had more emotional drive to me. I enjoyed it. I hadn't watched any movies in noir yet, so that was spectacular. Now I've got a couple in noir I'm going to check out when I in the next coming weeks, because it's fun.
Fury Road.
I'm definitely going into that one. I'm going to that one for sure. But when 24 opens the claws and puts him right into Xavier's chest, I was just like, I knew it was coming. I still fucking yelled no. Yeah. I'm like, no, hate it.
Well, you have Patrick Stewart that's played this role as long as Hughes played Wolverine.
Correct.
And you've kind of officially killed Xavier, his Xavier off, and it's a hard scene after what was it, 20 years of film?
Yeah, for sure. And they definitely, I know Patrick Stewart's not a spring chicken by any means, but they definitely added aging elements to make him look even more feeble and old, and it just took it across. It sold it even more. And you've really felt compassion for Professor X throughout this entire movie, because essentially Wolverine, not only is he sick and on his way out, but he's trying to he's driving a limo, paying the bills to make sure that X has his medicine, so he doesn't have another episode that could kill more people and more mutants, because he's basically got Alzheimer's, dementia, and he goes into episodes. So it's kind of crazy.
And he basically, it doesn't say exactly what's happening for a long time through the movie, but then you find out that he evidently killed like everybody in like this building or something to that effect.
It was like a news. It was like a video they were watching, and it was like killed 7 X-Men, something like that. So killed pretty much all the X-Men except for Wolverine. Kind of crazy. But yeah, man, this movie just doesn't stop with the punches. Doesn't stop with he knows he's being hunted. The crazy part is there's X-Men comic books in this movie.
That was always weird to me. That was one thing that I always thought was weird.
I think it's great because you have things in real life all the time that are fictionalized and taken into a different format. And, you know, wherever you have real stories, there is something that can be twisted or turned into a fun story. And so to me, it was like, okay, there's these superheroes that acknowledge they're there and they give them adventures in a comic book and make it more child friendly. And if you remember towards the end, you know, I'm going to say something that really bothers me, by the way.
I'm going to go ahead, but I'm going to tell you one thing. The reason I hate the comic books. But go ahead.
Well, I'm getting there too. But why does every black character have to be like Static Shock? They made the black kid be the electric powers guy. But anyways, he at the end, he's carrying a Wolverine doll. Even they have the toys for these guys. So they've like there's merchandising everywhere here. But I like the comics. But go ahead.
The reason I do not like the comics, to me, it goes against everything the comic books taught me about the X-Men. So essentially, the X-Men is basically a story of persecution, a story of acceptance, and all these things. And X-Men with Homo sapiens hating mutants so much through every film, then all of a sudden they're making comic books so kids can learn and have fun with about the X-Men. That's my
Remember the
issue.
future we're in. There's no more mutants.
I get it.
And they, before these kid mutants were found or known about in this movie, they didn't think there had been a kid mutant born in, like, what was it? They said like 20 years or I forgot some weird amount of time.
It was something like 20 years.
So to me, you're creating these stories and these comics to let kids have fun with the idea of superpowers, because in our world, there's no real superpower people. So we have fun with the comic book. So I don't know. For me, it was different. I understand what you're saying completely, but, and you know, a lot of the times it's weird to see how a director is directing these people in these movies. Rather, they're trying to find that line of, are we being persecuted? Are we not? Are we good guys? Are we not? And I saw a lot of that in Dark Phoenix.
Yeah.
Talk another time. But, yeah. So.
Yeah. Getting to the end of this film, 'cause I mean, the ending is, to me, is the next greatest scene, where you have Wolverine that is taking this solution that essentially kind of hulks him out briefly, and all these military guys show up, mercenary guys show up with X-24, and you get kind of berserker Wolverine.
Well, so to give a little more to that serum, though, that serum was made by this Dr. Rice. And essentially, so he could keep growing his test subjects or clones, he was basically injecting these people so it would amplify their power and they could go further, go harder. And 24 got fucked up huge, hole in the head, the whole bit. And he pumped him full of serum and everything, his healing factor kicked in and he went full out and was able to come back later for that final scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, Wolverine, Logan, he doesn't want to see anything happen to these kids, and he's got one vial of this serum, this solution, and he takes the whole thing in one shot.
Yeah, they tell him not to take it all at once, and
yeah,
he does.
He does, because he's scared, and him running through the woods, like, it was so real, too. That was the other thing. Like, before he took this medication, he's running, he's dying, but he has to get to these kids, and he knows it, and he's falling over, he's panting, he's just a helpless version of himself.
He looks sick.
Yeah.
He actually physically looks sick.
Yeah, bag under the eyes. Wolverine's got scars now, which was also a great detail for me. You can see how he's aging and crossing those lines because nothing heals anymore. He's not he's not essentially immortal. But yeah, man, so much in that final scene. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, that scene, that whole fight scene is great, you know, and what's his name, Pierce. The scene where the kids actually
fuck him up.
That's
so good.
They like one has him like
tied down with grass.
Tied down with vines and stuff from grass. Then they're like freezing him. They're electrocuting him. All of the kids are using their powers to do something to inflict pain.
And these kids all have already experienced the torture that he enforced on them and the doctor enforced on them, so they got a lot to let out.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Wolverine's powers start fading. They stop Pierce. This is when 24 comes back. Pierce lets him out of his cage right before the kids take him down. And 24 and him go at it. But I love the whole scene, the whole back and forth. And he isn't even, at the end of this, like, he does what he needs to do to get the kids okay, but the kids really save the day when it's all said and done. Oh, we didn't talk about the adamantium bullet.
Yeah, I was getting ready to go there. Because, you got Wolverine that has carried around this adamantium bullet. And you're basically led to believe he's carrying this to take himself out. I think he actually
admitted it. Yeah, he admits it.
I think he actually there was a line where he was actually saying, "Well, I keep it as a reminder."
Right.
But yeah, he admits that's why he's keeping this bullet around, and he's telling X-23 this at one point. So at the end, X-24 has Wolverine slammed against a tree with this huge tree branch through his chest, and X-23 grabs a pistol, pulls that bullet out that she had picked up, and shoots X-24's
right in the head. Right through that adamantium skull. So, and then we get the farewell burial of Logan, which one of the coolest symbolic moments.
The dying with his heart in his hand.
Well, the heart with the hand, but then also, I love, so Laura takes the cross out of the ground for the grave marker and turns it over to be an X.
Yeah.
I was like, damn.
Well, the reason I say that, in The Wolverine, you remember the girl that sees everybody's death, and she says, "You die with your heart in your hand." And the director, I read an article with him after Logan had came out, and he had said that he shot that scene in mind of that line, that it wasn't actually physically his heart in his hand, it was his heart. He was talking about X-23.
Oh my God, and her crying, saying "daddy," and like his last words were, "Now I know how it feels."
Yeah.
I was like, get the fuck. I was a mess. It's a quality film. Yeah, it's a good film.
In that article, he said that was why he shot that way, that it kind of went full circle, that he really did die with his heart in his hand, with Laura there with him.
Wolverine and Deadpool and Wolverine. Sorry.
We want to do a rating on Logan before we...
Oh, yeah. Sorry, got ahead of myself. Wow, stellar film for me, but you got to go first because I picked it.
Technically, we were supposed to do this a long time ago, but our other co-host that is not here didn't watch it, so we didn't record it. This is where I'm going to be a little controversial.
Oh, here we go.
I said how much I loved this film when I went to the theater. And I really do love this film. This film does have its problems, though, for me. And
what?
On rewatches, and I've rewatched this film, I couldn't tell you how many times. It's been a number of times. My problem with this film is it drags. There is a lot of scenes that drag in this film. Now, their world building, their story building, I get it. But my initial feelings on this film the first time I watched it is it was one of the best probably the best mutant film, but one of the best comic book films ever made.
I still feel that way.
I still feel that way to a certain degree. On my rewatches, again, I feel like there's pacing issues. I feel like it becomes bogged down. I feel like it's slow on rewatches. But it doesn't change my mind that it's still one of the best, if not the best, comic book movie ever made. It just it becomes a harder watch for me. That being said, I'm still rating this really high because it is a fantastic film. And if you're an X-Men fan or just a comic book fan in general, or even if you're not a comic book fan, the thing with this movie is if you took Logan out of this film and put a normal guy there, this film would probably really still be a great movie.
It wouldn't connect with people the same, though.
It wouldn't connect with people the same, but it would still be a good movie. I'm going to give it a solid 4.5.
I think we're right on exact point for the first time ever. That's weird.
Even though that I was given some negative output about it, but I mean it still
holds up. And to me, in this instance, you have farewell of a iconic X-Men, iconic comic book character. You're actually growing a relationship between him and his daughter. You're seeing the struggles of new fatherhood to a grown child. You're seeing the complexity, of him essentially babysitting Professor X. There's so much to unpack here that I felt like the amount of time needed is perfect. So on a first time watch, that this movie's going to deliver every time and you'll be happy. I could see if you're rewatching it because you already know what's going to happen, you want it to get there, then I get it. But to me, I'm right there with you, the 4.5. I love this film start to finish, and as I've said before in other episodes, I'm a sap for any movie that's a father-daughter, especially, also father-son, but any movie that's got a father dealing with something with their children is always a rough watch. So,
well, we're pretty ballpark there.
Yeah. I don't think it's gonna be the same way on this next one, the way you've been talking, though. But you know what? I do have to give you credit for this. I think JP he wanted this to happen, this review of Logan happen sooner. As you can see, his beard is trimmed just like Logan's. Anyway, so yes, Deadpool 3, or Deadpool and Wolverine, is also in this. This is the double feature review.
Deadpool Wolverine. So let's get back to that opening scene. The opening scene of this, where I said it shit on everything Logan did. Deadpool shows up to Logan's grave, digs him up, and pulls his adamantium skeleton out of the ground and starts using every bone in Logan's body as a weapon as the time agency shows up.
but when the claws get put on the outer part of his arms, and he goes, ooh. I was like, that's awesome.
No, I love the whole scene. I love the whole fight scene. I love the opening. But it does shit on what Logan was.
Why did he dig him up?
But he dug him up because he wanted him.
He wanted him to be. He's like, hey, you revive, come back. Yeah. It was a reason. Yeah. So it wasn't. He was tasked with trying to find a Wolverine.
The scene is fantastic. Though it doesn't change the fact that the scene is fantastic. Essentially, we probably have a synopsis here for this film. Let me pull this up. So, if you have not watched Deadpool Wolverine and you don't know anything about it, here is, if there is even
reminder. If you haven't seen this yet, don't pay attention.
And this is a very short storyline description. A listless Wade Wilson tolls away in a civilian life with his days as a morally flexible mercenary Deadpool behind him. But when his homeworld faces an existential threat, Wade must reluctantly suit up again with an even more reluctant Wolverine.
Even more reluctant. So, right off the rip, I need to get into the big one that was the funniest shit for me in the beginning. So, before the TVA comes into play, they're doing a surprise party for Wade. And one of the agreements for Disney to go rated R was there couldn't be any drug use. And they said, okay, not a problem. So, it's freaking YouTube. I was going to say, if you haven't seen it, I'm sorry, because I'm gonna think. But what were all the nicknames? There's like Magic Dust, and they basically put.
Let's build a snowman.
Yeah.
There was all kinds of random slang for cocaine use, and Deadpool actually makes the line that Feige said we can't do this. That's the one thing
that's off the table. Because they had done it prior with the Foxverse, and they just wanted that to kind of be chilled out a little bit. But Uhura,
I did read an article after the movie came out that Ryan Reynolds came out and said that Feige said nothing was actually off the table.
What?
Yeah.
Well, if that's the case, it doesn't matter, because to me, like, this whole movie in a big way was them saying goodbye to the Fox universe and was crossing over everyone they needed to cross over in one shot to get them into the MCU, essentially. So that was my takeaway from this. That in itself, if you have any complaints about the movie, at least you know that these characters have been transitioned over into the MCU officially.
At least one or two of them.
Cameo porn. This movie was cameo porn.
There's a lot of fan service and cameos in this, and I can't say that I'm disappointed with any of the cameos. Even the one that I mentioned a minute ago with the Gambit, I wasn't disappointed with it. I was happy to see it. The betrayal works within Deadpool. It's fun. Will that Gambit be great as a standalone character in the MCU? Hell no. They don't need to go that route. But was it fun for Deadpool? Hell yeah.
I cannot imagine 2.5 hours of hearing that horrible accent. Just saying.
It is literally the Jar Jar Binks of the MCU.
Dude, and the comment, that was one of my complaints, was when the Gambit comment, when he talked about how he shot out of his dad. Like, I was like, I could have done without that. That's good. Not saying it was offensive or bothered me in any perverse way. I mean, it was messed up, but at the same time, I was like, was just weird.
Yeah.
It just didn't feel normal. The rest of the movie, though, for me, seemed to flow. I like, there's the instigation scene where Deadpool thinks that Chris Evans' character is Captain America, and he's like getting all hyped because he's trying to go against what's her face, Professor X's sister.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, why I'm drawing a blank. So in the Void, Professor X's sister is basically
Cassandra Nova.
Yeah, she's like a badass essentially, and she can just like flick her hand or think about something, and you're done. So he thinks. Wade, Deadpool, thinks that Chris Evans is Captain America. So he's like, yeah, get her. He's like hyping behind her. And then all of a sudden you hear, flame on.
And you get that shitty Fantastic Four Human Torch. Which, I say that, but he was the best thing about that Fantastic Four.
Without a doubt. And also, I believe he's the first person who was multiple Marvel characters in the cinematic world. Wasn't he the first person he was cast like that, and then we cast him as Captain America? I think
probably.
He was probably one of the first, one of the earliest.
Yeah, he probably was.
But, I mean, just alone in that whole scene. So you've got, you got Azazel, you've got Lady Deathstrike, you've got, just before that scene, Sabretooth and Toad. Toad was in the next scene, too. So Johnny Storm, I mean, my gosh, at this point we've got Elektra, Blade. Like, the list goes on and on. This is great fan service, great fun.
My only thing is, and I'm actually looking this up right now, because I do not think that some of those actors actually returned for their roles, even though they brought those characters back. Obviously, Juggernaut was not. The Blob that showed up was not.
No, some of them were extra different characters.
The Azazel was not the same.
It wasn't?
Nope.
He looked the same.
No, because the Azazel in X-Men First Class was played by Jason. Jason Fleming.
Well, that one died anyways in that whole universe. Yeah. So,
but I love Jason Fleming, and so I would have liked to have seen him actually reprise his Azazel. And then obviously I don't think Ray Park didn't.
That did bother me, but I think it was the Toad from I think it was the other Toad. I'm not sure on that one, but I thought it was the Toad from the newer movies. Or was I wrong on that?
Toad was in the newer movies? I don't remember Toad in the newer movies.
He was in Apocalypse. And he had black goggles on and the like spiky, scaly skin.
I remember what you're talking about, but I did not put two and two. Never put two and two together that was Toad.
So that was kind of interesting. But yeah, my God, man, I don't know. I just had a blast with this movie. I didn't expect to have as much fun. And the fight scene in the fucking minivan, hell yeah.
the 10-minute fight scene of Wolverine and Deadpool in a freaking, is it a Kia minivan?
Chrysler. It's a Chrysler. I forgot what type, but it's a Chrysler minivan.
Is it a Pacifica?
Yes.
Chrysler Pacifica.
Yes.
They fight for like 10 minutes, and the van is just covered in blood by the time it's over. And then after that scene is when you see somebody walk up and drive off, and they drive back to their little hidden base, and you get the big cameos outside of the Human Torch, and then the ones you see with Cassandra Nova that we just mentioned. But that's where you get the big ones. You get Elektra. You get Wesley Snipes' Blade, Jennifer Gardner's Elektra. You get Channing Tatum's Gambit, and then you get X-23.
If any of you that saw this remember some of the digs at 20th Century Fox, please put them in the comments, because I definitely want to. I definitely love remembering those when I see them. But like some of the digs at 20th Century were solid, and I'll even. I don't know if Fox made Van. Did Fox make Van Wilder?
I don't know.
Because at one point he calls the emotional sensitive Deadpool, he calls him Van Milder, and I about lost my shit. I thought it was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, and we actually skipped.
Well, we're not doing it in order.
I know. Just talking about the cameos. One of the greatest things for me in this film was all the Wolverine cameos.
Well, I hadn't gotten there yet. Sorry.
Yeah,
that was but we should have talked about that already.
Yeah, that you get. You get the brown suit Wolverine, and you get the Hulk. It's the Hulk Wolverine fight.
Hulk versus Wolverine fight.
You get the Age of Apocalypse Wolverine with the missing arm. You get the crucified Wolverine.
Yep. And you get the comic accurate Wolverine.
You get the comic accurate Wolverine. You get a short dwarf Wolverine.
That's the comic accurate one I was talking about. Because he's the right height. Yeah.
And you get the Henry Cavill cameo Wolverine.
Cavalrine. So I gotta be honest, as cool as that would be,
I don't think he looks good in the part.
Whatever this, I don't think it was intentionally. I think that he could look good in the part, but they really, I don't know if it was CGI or something. Something was off on his face in the makeup. It did not look right.
I never thought that he would look right as Wolverine.
Do you know who he's too old again. This sucks. I hate when we pass quality people for roles, but I would have loved, instead of putting him in the role of Venom, for Tom Hardy to be Wolverine.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that would have been awesome.
Had he been casted years ago.
Yeah.
My two top picks. Now, these two actors, they have to bulk up.
Oh, shit.
They'd have to bulk up, but I think these two actors would be perfect for the role. The first one, and this is the fan favorite. I'm going to give you a fan pick that I think is perfect. I'm going to give you my pick. The fan favorite is obviously Daniel Radcliffe. If he was to bulk up, I think Daniel Radcliffe could be a really cool-looking Wolverine. Now, could he play the part? I don't know.
He's not the guy, dude.
Now, my pick.
Okay, let's hear it.
If he bulks up, and he wouldn't even have to bulk up much, because he's a slender guy, but he's still a muscular guy. But he'd have to bulk up some. Scott Eastwood.
Clint's son?
Clint's son.
Okay.
That's my pick for I would like to see as Wolverine. I think Scott Eastwood, because some of the fan picks years ago was always to see Clint as Wolverine, especially Old Man Wolverine, be played by Clint Eastwood. I think, and Scott looks a lot like Clint, and
Clint's not playing it anymore.
No, Clint's not doing it anymore. But Scott's young.
Yeah,
Scott's young. He's in the comics. He's been in a lot of superhero films. And
what was it? Clint Eastwood just had his girlfriend died, right? He's like, I think so. He's what, 82 or 92?
Clint's in his 90s.
Yeah, he's 92. His girlfriend was like 55, and she died. That was crazy. I was like, that's a serious age gap. Bravo, but my God.
So yeah, that would be my top pick.
I don't know if I have a pick at this juncture. I would like to see Tom Hardy, but I don't think currently I have somebody in mind for that role.
Yeah.
I kind of would prefer, if I'm being honest, a new face altogether. Like, I'm kind of tired of the same pool of action stars and the same pool of actors, and I want new blood.
And that's why I've kind of picked Scott Eastwood. He's an established actor, but he's not a big actor. He's still
right.
He's still like not getting major roles, even though he's been in major films. I mean, he's not The Rock. He's not the guy that you're getting casted in every fucking movie. He's not Jason fucking Momoa getting casted in every movie. You know, I want to see young, unknown, or relatively not huge stars in some of these roles.
Well, to me, it goes across the board. So
yeah, absolutely.
I want new directors. I want new everything, just to give fresh blood, fresh ideas. It goes back to, the complaint we always have, where you get recycled, washed up, same old, rinse and repeat. I'm tired of it. I want new faces, new ideas. Always go a lot further. But yeah, as we move forward into this movie, a lot of fun keeps ensuing. All the Deadpools coming into fruition. That was an amazing, and the Deadpool dog, dog. That was, I love this crazy, quirky dog. And I think one of the funnier scenes was the scene I was talking about prior with the Van Milder moment. And Van Milder is like, he goes, I can break the fourth wall too. And he turns and looks and he does this thing. And he goes, what the fuck was that? Listen, bitch. Like, he goes right at him. And Wolverine, what the fuck are you two talking about? Shut the fuck up. Like, just so many F-bombs and so magical, the chemistry that's happening on screen.
Hugh Jackman, and when I rewatched this, because I watched this 2 times, and I actually rewatched this last week, and my second rewatch, I really noticed Hugh Jackman's every other word is fuck.
Yep.
Every other word in this movie is fuck.
They went for the gold. They were like, we got rated R, let's do it every other word. Which is funny, too, because literally Baby Deadpool and Kid Pool are Ryan Reynolds' kids. And everyone was theorizing that Blake was Lady Pool, but I don't think that's the case. I don't know.
I thought that I read someplace that it was after the movie came out.
I hadn't heard anywhere that was confirmed, but that would have made sense to me if he had the kids in there, too. It would have been kind of funny, too.
One thing that happened that I really did love was Wolverine finally cutting Sabretooth's fucking head off.
It was good, and it was so quick. It was that cool imagery, too, where they ran at each other, and there's like if they were to do a duel, and they both went at the same time, and they're both standing there, and then his head just rolls.
Yeah, it was a straight-up, like, anime style, like...
old samurai movies type thing. That was cool. I did dig that a lot. I got to give Ryan Reynolds props because he, apart from being just a solid dude in Hollywood and a hilarious individual, this guy really fought to make sure this franchise happened, start to finish. And my hopes and dreams out of this is going to sound crazy, I know, but since Stan Lee passed, I feel there's a void missing in Marvel movies, and it's his cameos.
You want Deadpool cameos?
I want disguised Deadpool cameos. Could you imagine, like, there's one cameo of Stan Lee where it's him and he's holding his lady and they're looking up at the sky as something's invading. And could you just imagine him either being disguised as Stan Lee in another disguise or something? It just would be on point for that. I think would be great.
Yeah. Getting into this movie, essentially, he finds his Wolverine, obviously, and to try to fix his timeline so his world doesn't get destroyed. And they get to the void. They finally fight Cassandra Nova. And now this fight scene was top-notch, where they're all rushing in with the Gambit fighting everybody. Blade, you get to see Blade fighting again. You get to see Elektra fighting again. X-23, all while Wolverine and Deadpool are facing off with Cassandra Nova. And to me, the highlight of this fight scene, as much as I bitched about Channing Tatum's Gambit, the one positive thing that I said about him was Channing Tatum's dance moves. Obviously, he's a dancer. He really captured Gambit's fighting style. I mean, his moves, his little slides, his little just how you always imagine Gambit fight, his fighting style. Channing Tatum nailed it. He really did.
I don't know if Channing is. I don't know if he's trying to swing off Ryan Reynolds' devotional love, the Deadpool character, or if he is. This is his genuine commentary, but he said he's grown up loving Gambit. Gambit was always his favorite, and that's why it means so much to him to play this. So the passion's there, and the commitment to the role are there. I don't discredit that. I just think you've missed the moment where you would have been a good person for that.
And just his dialogue. His dialogue alone is every reason
we can minimize dialogue.
Yeah, I would rather Channing Tatum come in and talk like Channing Tatum versus what he did.
If I had to guess,
and Channing Tatum, best I know, I think might be shooting off the hip. I'm shooting off the hip here on this, but I think Channing Tatum is from that area of like Louisiana, New Orleans area. So I mean, he probably naturally can have a fairly natural Cajun accent, I'm sure.
Well, but let's hope for that not to happen.
We're real here. No, we don't want it.
But if I had to guess, before we talk more about Cassandra in the fight scene, I think the Void is going to be where I think everyone's coming back to that in Secret Wars, because that's one of the announced movies was Avengers Secret Wars. So I think we're going to be back in the Void, and you're going to have more characters, more cameos, more things like that, and that. But yeah, that fight scene. So the fight scene to me was kind of, I'm not going to lie, it was kind of underwhelming.
It is. I mean, what made it underwhelming was the stuff with Cassandra Nova. And you're just getting flashes of everything else. Because the fight scene with her, it's not even a fight scene. She just does her powers and, well, she gets in their mind.
Why does she play with them, though? That was my thing. Because, so what we didn't talk about is Johnny Storm's demise. She literally did this, and the guy had no skin, and he fell over no pile of blood and bones. He was just dead, just from a flick of a thing. So, the fact that she let Deadpool ramble as long as he did, the fact that all that stuff happened, I was like,
Yeah. And, the fact that she can't just read minds, she has to actually touch minds physically to read them.
Yeah.
You'll see her hands actually move through your face and stuff. It's a little, but it doesn't make for a very exciting fight scene or duel, with them. And to me, it slowed that whole. Well, it could have been a great fight scene down. It slows it down because you got Blade, Gambit, and Elektra doing some badass shit outside, and you've got them flipping back and spending more time with Wolverine and Deadpool and Cassandra, which slows that whole thing down.
Yeah, no, it's definitely it definitely was not the highlight of the movie for me, but I did enjoy this movie start to finish. It was fun, it was engaging. I had a friend of mine text me, hi Dave. He texted me and he was like, what should I watch to get prepped for this movie? And I gave him a list of the movies I thought that would tie in nicely and give him a little backstory. But then I was like, you know what? You don't actually need to see any of that. You could probably just go and watch this for what it is and enjoy it as a fun movie. I just gave the list because I thought that all the cameos would help bridge all that together and freshen you up on that. But this movie really, it landed it as far as just being fun, nonsense, and I don't know. I had a blast watching.
No, this movie is fun. Is nothing but fun nonsense, and it's fun nonsense with great cameos. Now, for me, if you're going to watch this film because you're expecting an amazing storyline, trust me, it's not there. This is not the movie for you because the storyline in this is very mediocre. Let's just be real.
It is. It definitely is. And the guy who directed this, he had worked with Hugh Jackman in Real Steel, and he had worked with Ryan Reynolds on what was the sci-fi one where he plays future, he comes back to see his kid self. Is that Netflix?
It's a Netflix movie, and I cannot think of the name. It's actually a good movie.
Yeah, it's not bad.
It's actually a really good movie.
Mark Ruffalo's dad. It's pretty touching. But This director had worked with them and also had done things like Night at the Museum, worked with Nickelodeon, all that stuff. So I wasn't really expecting much out of him, if I'm being honest, with how this got delivered. But I was overall impressed. But yeah, story's mediocre. It's great.
Yeah. It's very there's not a lot of depth to this. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, Deadpool is trying to save his universe because his Wolverine is dead, and he finds out that his universe is dying because Wolverine is the anchor for his world. He goes find him a Wolverine. He finds him, gets sent to the void, and then bam, he's back on his world with Wolverine.
And this Wolverine, he's basically this Wolverine is badass and can deliver, but he's an alcoholic, and he failed the other X-Men, and X-Men died in his world because of it.
And I'm not a big fan of this Wolverine. I mean, he's great. He plays the role. He plays the role that he's given. I'm not a big fan of the Wolverine that stays drunk the entire time, and I don't know. It was a little bit of a miss for me with this.
I can understand that. It's not for everyone, but it definitely shows.
He redeems himself at the end.
But he that failure, that depression led him down the addictive alcohol path, and that's what it was. Yeah, no, there's a lot of things there. But you said something that we forgot to talk about, the anchors. So the way the TVA, the Rogue TVA, by the way, it's Rogue group of TVA, it's not them. The way that they explain it is that every version of a person, or every world has an anchor for that world, for that point. And those anchors, those people matter in the timeline, and they're the ones they're working with and pulling different threads of time to make things happen. And this Wolverine was the anchor of his world, and right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was kind of interesting. I forgot you brought that up.
So yeah, the end of this movie, they're just getting ready to destroy Deadpool's world, and Cassandra Nova starts absorbing this. It's dark matter and positive matter. It's something like that.
It's like a hadron collider, essentially.
Yeah.
Like CERN.
Yeah, she's absorbing this energy to destroy all worlds and leave nothing but the void. And Deadpool, Wolverine go in and start absorbing the power between them, and
all the girls went crazy because Hugh Jackman was shirtless and
goes shirtless,
muscles were bulging
and flexing.
I'm a fat pile of shit, so
they're told if anybody goes in there and does what they did, they're going to die and they're going to cease to exist. Well, the real TVA shows up after they've stopped Cassandra Nova by absorbing all this energy, and then here comes Wolverine and Deadpool. Like, oh yeah, we regenerated. We knew that was going to happen.
Which is their power. So
yeah.
That's. I do have a question from Logan earlier. Does Laura have the regenerative properties too?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. That's cool. All right.
Yeah, that's basically the end of the movie. Then you see Deadpool with his family. He's reunited with X-23. Wolverine has joined his little family, and yeah, the end.
The end. And that kind of, the way they left it too, one of the jokes Deadpool cracks is, they're going to keep you till you're 90.
Yeah, I'm talking to Hugh Jackman. Like, you're going to play Wolverine until you're 90.
Yeah.
Which, you know what, I wouldn't put it past Marvel. They don't know. I'm going to be blunt here. I don't think Marvel knows what the fuck they're doing anymore, unfortunately. And what sucks, because, I mean, they did so many great movies early on, and the past few years have been a nightmare for them. I don't think they know what they're doing. They just announced Robert Downey Jr. playing Dr. Doom.
Yeah, but it's not going to be what everyone thinks. I think that's just a straight marketing grab.
I think it's still just a knee-jerk reaction, though, for Marvel. To me, it's not a good look.
I thought it was a great look because people are going to... Honestly, you'll probably... I wouldn't be surprised if it was only 2 minutes of screen time that Dr. Doom version gets. I don't think we're going to see... Like, they're not going to base him as a baddie. Like, he's not going to be it. So I think that it's a small little insert thing, and they did that for marketing purposes just to hype it.
I really hope so. But, I mean, for me personally, even I know what you're getting at saying it's for marketing purposes, but, I mean, even that's what I'm saying for me. That's showing they don't know what the fuck they're doing because they're still banking on Robert Downey Jr. to save them. And
I think you're gonna be shocked. I think these next two Marvel movies, I think a lot of thought went into the Avengers movies. I think a lot of thought went into those, and I'm hoping that Doomsday and Secret Wars is amazing. I'm really hoping big for it. So,
well, I mean, they had to shift gears because the Kang Dynasty Avengers movie had to be dropped, and
not just that. Like, let's be honest, we've talked about this a bunch of times too. The whole woke everything being focused just on women. It was, and I hate even saying the word woke, but like the success, the formula success is balance. You have a girl and you have a female and male team kicking ass, and it's great when that happens.
Oh yeah, no, I agree.
I'll go first in this one. I'll throw it out there. So for me, solid, fun movie. Just a very fun movie. I agree completely with JP about it. The story itself being kind of mediocre, but again, the way that it carries along, the fan service, all these things. I'm gonna go 3.9 nerds for me.
Okay, you're going to go a bit higher than me. I am rating this solely on the idea that this is a fun movie. This is a lot of fan service, and the cameo. I enjoyed the cameos a lot, especially seeing Blade again, and X-23. This actually, after this came out, I rewatched all the Blade films. I mean, so just seeing Wesley Snipes again made me excited just to see that version of Blade again. But really, that's all this film is. There's not a lot of depth to it. It's just a lot of fun jokes, a lot of fun language and jokes between Deadpool and Wolverine and the fan service, and that's really all this film is. It's not a great groundbreaking story. There's not much more to it. There's even, kind of like we were saying, some of the action sequences that could have been a lot better, just to be honest. That aside, it's not my favorite movie of the summer. I think I've even said this to you.
You and I have two different favorite movies of the year, by the way.
Yeah. But I still really enjoy this film. And if you're a Deadpool fan, fucking go watch it. This movie is great. I'm going to give it a 3.5. And that 3.5 is really solely on cameos and just that it's a fun movie.
Same with my 3.9.
Yeah, I mean, this movie could have been bad. This movie could have been really, really bad. With just if you really look at the storyline in this and how things are structured going through, had Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds not delivered in their performances, this could have been a 1.5 easily. It could have went the other direction.
I feel like
quick.
Those two are going to deliver, though. I think we're good.
They're going to. But I'm just saying, I mean, had this film been, actors that couldn't carry a movie like this movie could have been horrendous because there's nothing special about it outside of Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman and how they play those characters.
Well said. That brings us to the conclusion of our double feature, our first ever double feature.
You know one thing we didn't do?
What didn't we do?
We didn't do any of the budget and...
we had a lot to fit in with two movies, I'm being honest.
That's
I'm
fair.
shocked we hit an hour again. We can go over the budget real quick if you want.
Well, they both made a lot of fucking money. Logan made a lot of fucking money, and Deadpool's still making a lot of fucking money. Deadpool's already, I know last time I looked, it was $1.2 billion.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's gonna crush worldwide. But I am curious because I did hear one thing. I do want to see the budget on Deadpool because, I was told it had a very, very small budget compared to the other Marvel movies, and I'm kind of shocked given the cast.
Yeah, I think it. I've got it here someplace. I looked at it earlier, and it wasn't as much as I thought it was.
Budget was $200 million.
Yeah, I was going to say off the top of my head, I thought it was 190.
Opening weekend, it hit 211,000. Gross U.S. and Canada, $577 million.
This movie has made $1 billion.
$1.2 billion.
I mean, after you take out the cost of it, this movie has made $1 billion.
They're gonna trust me. Marvel's not giving up on Deadpool or Wolverine anytime soon. You'll see them coming a lot in the future.
If they're smart, they're going to be pushing X-Men out pretty quick.
3 CineNerds at gmail.com is our email, as always. Shoot us an email. Give us your thoughts, your suggestions, commentary, whatever. We'd love to hear from you. And then for your listening pleasures, you can check out our link tree, which is in our bio on our Facebook, and you can find all the platforms that we are streaming or available.
Wash, rinse, repeat.
He means share, review. I don't know. He always says it differently. So,
write a review, share our page. We want to hear from you. We want to talk to you. We want you to invite your friends. We want to continue to grow this.
Sweet.
All right.
CineNerds out. Later.
Later.